Diablo 4 has been in development for honestly quite a while, and there has been a massive amount of information released to us as this time has gone on. In today's video, we're going to be going through pretty much just about everything we know so far when it comes to the endgame in Diablo 4, as well as content we should expect added to the game after it's actually launched. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we're also doing a giveaway for a free copy of Diablo 4, so to enter yourself, all you have to do is be subscribed and follow the link in the description below. Kicking things off, we have content that can be completed while you're actually leveling up, and that's definitely going to be beneficial for you up until you get into the true endgame of Diablo 4. Obviously, you have things like making sure you have all the dungeons discovered, the towns, the teleporters, taking over the smaller camps for some more settlements, the awesome renown system based on completing each zone that you actually run into. There's also things like gathering, which you can gather herbs or mines, as well as gathering from other creatures and world bosses that drop crafting loot as well. But just like in previous iterations of Diablo, you are going to be having world tiers back in Diablo 4. And right at launch, you are going to have 5. And pretty much what this is as you increase the world tier, you get increased difficulty on pretty much just about everything, but you get an increase in rewards as well. From XP to rarity of drops to the amount of drops, everything you could possibly imagine will be increased and better as you progress through these world tiers. These tiers make doing open world content, for one, not so trivial, and there's actually some difficulty behind it, but it also keeps it a viable way of getting different variations of loot you may need to do some harder difficulty content later on down the line. Speaking of fantastic open world content, you are going to have to be well aware about Helltide events. Now, these are going to be region-wide events that are only available to players at a minimum of World Tier 3 on Nightmare. So increasing your world tier, once again, is incredibly important and stressed heavily. In these events, monsters and creatures are very much increased and stronger, but they drop increased loot rarity as well as increased loot rates as well. As you defeat these creatures, they are going to drop cinders, which is a brand new currency that you can use to spend on opening Helltide chests scattered throughout the region the event actually took place in. These chests drop incredibly powerful rewards exclusive to a singular item slot, and they also stress that you do drop cinders upon death as well. So to quickly break that down, you need a minimum world tier of 3, which you won't really reach until nearing the endgame anyways. And there are going to be these gigantic zone-wide events that are going to change and morph the whole zone as you know it. The creatures from Lilith's armies are going to be at these events, as well as some bosses or lieutenants that has a chance of dropping these currency called cinders, which then you use to open up these chests. This is going to be great for the endgame. It's going to have a ton of ways for players to interact with each other, to group up for some open world content, which is always amazing to see. Moving on to a theme that's really stuck around for Diablo is going to be the vast amount of dungeons you're going to find in the game as you level up, and even at the end game. There are more than 100 plus dungeons at launch, and each of them has their own entrance and unique creatures inside, and they are not going to be like rifts in Diablo 3 either. Now, once you get into the end game, you're also going to be able to obtain nightmare sigils, which allows you to take these regular dungeons and turn them into a nightmare dungeon. This is going to be a massive part of the end game as well, and it's going to be an excellent form of content to spend your time gearing up. There are a couple ways of acquiring these nightmare sigils. The first way is going to be from an NPC that you can actually get these crafted at, and the second is going to be through a bounty-like system. Every dungeon is going to be placed into a separate nightmare tier also, so pretty much no matter what, you're going to have the opportunity to run into a way wider variety of dungeons rather than doing the same one or same couple ones continually, because you won't be able to do every single dungeon with every single tier. You can't do every single dungeon on tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to do them separately. These sigils also bring a wide variety of affixes and amplifications to the dungeon also to make them even harder. Just like World of Warcraft with Mythic Plus, and they have, their affixes that increase either boss health or, when creatures die, they leave a pool of blood that kills players inside of it. So we're going to have to see what these affixes actually are. Just like we talked about in previous videos, you also have the Codex of Power, which is going to be your best friend, honestly, in Diablo 4. This manual contains every legendary you could possibly attain and how you can actually obtain them. And the way that you do that is simply by completing the dungeons attached to them, and then you will have these powers permanently unlocked. You just need to take some gold and actually apply them to your armor yourself. You have to know that these are the lowest roll of all legendary powers, so at first it's going to be a very great way to test out some builds and hit a power spike to push you further into endgame. Another way to get a great amount of loot through daily quests is going to be through the Whispers of the Dead system. So on your map, you'll see whispers scattered all throughout Sanctuary, and what you need to do is complete the task associated with that whisper, and you're rewarded with gold, XP, and lastly, what's really important is the Grim Favor. Now, once you've collected 10 Grim Favors total, you can bring them to the Tree of Whispers to exchange for a nice amount of loot and a bunch of experience. This is pretty much taking over the bounty system in previous iterations of the game and is very similar to doing world quests in World of Warcraft. You know, you log in, you check on the map to see where your Grim Favors are, you go do them, and then you take 10 of those Grim Favors to the Tree of Whispers, exchange it for a bunch of loot, bada bing, bada boom, done. It's going to be a great way if you don't have a lot of time to go out there, do some dailies to help you get some loot fairly quickly. And it's going to be an incredibly effective way to acquire some Nightmare Sigils and turn these regular dungeons into Nightmare Dungeons to help you progress through getting some gear obviously more effectively and getting the best loot possible to do the hardest content you possibly can. Moving on to my favorite thing is going to be some PvP. Fields of Hatred is going to be a large part of Diablo 4, and it is the PvP zone that you can encounter. How this works is there are going to be zones that are set PvP zones, and once you enter them, you'll be alerted that you entered a PvP area. Obviously, if you don't want to PvP, you should leave. If you do, you can stay. But then once you stay, you'll be able to fight in open world combat against anybody in the zone that isn't in your actual group. Inside these PvP zones, there are going to be chests, loot, rewards, enemy NPCs, all of that still active inside the zone. Now, pretty much everything you do inside the zone is going to reward you with Seeds of Hatred. And this is going to be a fantastic currency because you take these seeds to an altar of extraction and convert them into red dust. But something important to note is everyone will be notified and will be able to see that you're actually converting your seeds into dust. So people are definitely going to try to attempt to kill you and take your spoils. Now, it's important to note that if you are killed with seeds on you, they will be dropped. But if you are killed with red dust on you, they will not be dropped. So right after you convert the seeds into red dust, you are completely safe. You are fine. You are free to go. You take these red dust and you turn them in for cosmetics, mounts, etc. And, you know, at this point, whether you'll be able to buy gear with them, it's still in question as no one really knows at the moment. But it's definitely going to be a great way to show your valor out in PvP as of right now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that is honestly just a majority of the endgame so far that we know of. And main content you can do at the launch in Diablo. Obviously, there are a lot more things to go over and to prepare for when it comes to the game, but, I mean, you have gearing for a vast majority of builds, seasonal content, DLCs, insane level of depth from the Paragon boards, which, honestly, it just unlocks stats and bonuses. There is a lot to do with the Paragon boards and a lot more other things, so stay tuned for that as well. By the way, the beta release date was just announced, and it is going to be on March 17th through March 19th, and then the open beta for everyone is going to be March 24th through March 26th. Which content are you guys looking forward to? Personally, for me, it's going to be that PvP and getting those titles and, you know, gear appearances, but leave a comment below as we would love to really talk with you guys about it and, you know, chat it up with you all. If you made it to the end of the video, consider subscribing to see even more Diablo 4 content on the way. I want to thank you all so much for watching the video, and until the very end, my name's Sky from the Comeback Kids. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!